Good morning, you guys. Oh man, do I have a crazy story for you guys today. I actually made this video last night when that car came back, but I think I was a little bit just taken aback by what happened. So it kind of ended up being a little too drawn out. So I'm redoing this so that I can tell the story in a better way. All right, so this car, today is Tuesday, and this was picked up on Saturday and was returned last night, so Monday night. And there was no red flags with this rental. And in fact, I felt extra good about this rental because here's the kicker. My car was rented by another host on the platform. He was a newer host. He started, it looks like, based on his reviews, October of 2019, but he had great reviews all throughout his profile. So I thought, oh my gosh, awesome. You know, usually hosts are great renters for your cars because they're in the know of how things are, and you know, they're usually very respectful and would take care of your car. Well, turns out that was not the case here. My car came back thrashed, and I'm going to show you guys what happened, give you some helpful tips on how to spot things like this, and let's go take a walk with me so we can see what the heck happened when my car came back last night, and thank goodness I caught it. All right, let's go look. All right, guys, so my Corvette came back last night, and again, it was rented by another host on the platform. I was doing the checkout, and everything seemed okay until I noticed this left tire had sort of this browning all around it. Now, I've been buying tires for a long time, so usually when you see this type of browning, it's because this tire's been sitting out in the sun for some time. And so as I looked more closely on the tire, I noticed that it was a hand-cooked tire, which was not the tire that I gave this car to the renter. And then I was like, oh my goodness, how weird. Let me go look at the other tire and see if it's the same tire. Now, right off the bat, if I hadn't noticed the left tire, I would have not noticed this tire because this tire is a Michelin Sport, Pilot Sport. But if you guys remember my videos from barely 2 weeks ago, this exact tire was slashed by a renter, including the passenger side seat, which I got repaired. So let me get a flashlight on. So in case you guys were wondering, I did get it reupholstered. So it's all good to go. And then along with that, I switched out this tire. But as I looked more closely at the tire, I noticed that this was a Michelin Pilot Sport. And I had Michelin Super Sports when I handed this car off to that renter, which by the way, I just replaced from barely 2 weeks ago because that tire was slashed. So I looked more closely at the tire and the wheel well, and I see the craziest thing. So let me try to get the light in there. You guys see all that in the wheel well? That is burnt rubber caked onto my wheel well. And my wheel well did not look like this when I handed off the car to this renter / host. You can look at that. It's just all the way up and down. I have never seen a layer of rubber that thick on a wheel well. And yesterday, as you can tell, I was just kind of messing with it, so it kind of crumbled off right there. And if you look even underneath this panel right here, it's just all over there. So this guy burnt out my tires and then replaced them with different tires upon return. Let me grab a little tool here and let's just see how much of this comes off. Let's get a light down here. All right. I mean, this is just so thick. I mean, look at that. It is just on there. Craziness. And then let me show you guys the other side as well. Check this out. This side, equally as bad. Look at that. It's 3D. I mean, it is just jumping off the wheel well. How much rubber is burnt back there. Insane. So let's talk more about this guy and what I think happened. Okay, So how crazy is that? You're a host and you burn out the tires on another host's car and then you replace them. You don't say anything. There is zero communication like, hey, maybe I had an issue with the tires, which I know he didn't because I just got them replaced. And when that tire was slashed from a couple weeks ago, I replaced both tires with Michelin Pilot Super Sports, which if you know, those are really expensive high performance tires. So it's just insane that somebody would do something like that. So of course my next move was I wanted to pull the GPS data and just see what this guy was doing with my car. When I pulled the GPS data over the 3 days that he had my car, he had like 24 speed alerts. This guy was driving up to 156 miles per hour, which would explain the tires. And I kid you not, I'm not even exaggerating. It was multiple times in the 150 range. I mean, that is insane. That's crazy fast to be going in someone else's car. He was going in the 150 range quite a few times. He was going in the 130 range many times, 119, 115. I mean, I just, I don't know what to think about that. That is just so insane. The car reeks like weed, but being that he's a host, he did clean it out. So I don't really exactly have photographic evidence to show that it smells like weed. So I'm going to have to eat that for sure. But this is crazy. I've never dealt with something like this, and it's the most uncool thing that someone can do. I mean, that's just like, you're a host. You should have some of that camaraderie, that mutual respect for someone else's car. And for you to just do that is just, man, dude, if you watch my videos, that is just not cool. The other thing is that I know that he replaced the tires just a few hours before his rental ended, because when I checked the Chevrolet app, which if you have Chevys, you should definitely have that app. It gives you a lot of remote controls. There was a PSI notification just a few hours before the trip ended, which is probably from when they swapped out the tires. But other than that, no other PSI notifications throughout the duration of the trip. So clearly he knew what he was doing. This was a part of the plan, and it's just sucky. When I got the car back and I pulled it into the garage yesterday, I could tell that it was driving really rough, which is not how this car drives. So I'm gonna do multiple things today. One of the things that I'm gonna likely do is check on the fluids and probably do a fluid flush, check the transmission fluids, probably do an oil change on it, because I've done a really good job at maintaining this car, and I just don't want to have maintenance issues with this. And especially given the way that it was driving, I think in this type of situation, it's really important that I do that just to kind of help bring it back to normal, because this guy was just for 3 days nonstop thrashing this car. Even the high speeds that he was driving at, it wasn't like, oh, just one of the days, he took it out for a couple hours and he was going high speeds. No, it was throughout the whole trip. So I'm definitely be sending that to Turo as well. I don't really know what happens in a situation like this, but my assumption would be, I file a claim about the 2 tires and then we'll see what happens. But the fact that this guy's a host on the platform really sucks. Okay, the other thing that I want to show you guys, I want to teach you guys something about tires and why I'm going to have to replace these tires, even though they have good tread life on them for the ones that he put on. So on the left side, he put a Hankook tire, and on the right side, he put a Michelin Pilot Sport tire. Both of them are 275, 35, 19. But something that I recently learned is that even though the tire sizes are the same, usually when they're from different brands does not mean, when they're from different brands, it usually means that they are not made equal. Just because it's a 275, 35, 19, they are actually different sizes. And yesterday when I pulled the car in, I could tell right off the bat that one tire was bigger than the other. And you definitely don't want to drive your cars like that. So I happen to have a couple of extra tires in the garage and I pulled them together. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about, because it's something that you really want to take note about and kind of educate yourself about, especially if you are buying used tires and you're going through a lot of tires, which there's nothing wrong with used tires if you have a good source for them, but just make sure you know what you're buying and what to look for. So let's go take a look at these tires. Okay guys, so here I have 2 tires. These are both actually coincidentally 275, 35, 19s, and these are 2 different brands. Now maybe from this angle you can't entirely tell that these tires are different, but if you really look, this this tire right here looks slightly bigger than that one. And now I'm going to switch up the angle so that you guys can kind of see from different angles. And probably the best angle that will show that to you is if you look from right up top. You can clearly see that this tire is bigger than this one. And they're the same tire size, but they're different brands. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to put two different tires on your car because it's going to mess with the car, and I recently learned that. So just before I did this, I took my measuring tape because I wanted to see exactly what the difference was. This tire in width going this way measured to be about 1.5 inches wider than this tire. And that could really mess with a car. I recently had that experience with my BMW where I didn't realize that I had two different tires on the back, and that car totally freaked out. The traction control. So you want to make sure that when you have cars listed on the platform, you really know what you're doing. And by that, I mean that you really know what your cars are and what you have, because this could have been easily missed. This car came back at 9 p.m. last night, so it was dark outside. I was already actually getting ready for bed. I had an early morning this morning, so I was planning on going to bed early. When I went to go grab this car, had I have not had the practice of going to the gas station, I have a gas station just nearby, and usually when I have cars come back at night, I'll run over there real quick to take photos because the lighting's really good. I don't know if I would have caught this, and really what gave it away was the browning on the hand-cooked tire. I noticed that right off the bat because that is just not normal, and I'm used to seeing that on tires that sit outside for a while. So pay attention to your cars. Know what type of tires you have, know the health of your tires, take that tire tread measurement. Now, another reason why that tire tread measurement is so important, and it's gonna really help me out in this case, is because when I take photos of that measurement before a trip, it does capture the inside of the wheel well as well. And so of course, first thing I did, because I knew that I was gonna get in touch with Turo about this, is I went to go look at my pre-trip photos before I submit anything, just to make sure I have the proper documentation. And clear as day, I have photos of the inside of the wheel well, and the wheel well is spotless, zero rubber, it's super clean, just had the car wash. I mean, it's perfect, right? And it's a really day and night difference between how the car was returned and how I gave it to him. So when I do get in touch with Turo, it's gonna be easy for me because I have that documentation. So please, I urge you, because believe me, I've had messages from people, although this type of incident is very rare, first time I've ever experienced it in 5 years, it can happen, right? I've had messages from people where somebody was like, oh my gosh, my car just came back and I had a whole new set of rims and tires on it that don't actually belong to the car. So you just never know what type of person you're gonna run into. And it's not something you should worry about, but you should just be prepared. Have your systems and processes in place so that you can catch stuff like this, because that's what insurance is for, right? That's why we have insurance, is to take care of things like this so we don't get that out-of-pocket expense. So pay attention, be vigilant, and be in tune with your cars. Know what's going on so that you can capture things like this, because this is something, if you're not well-versed on your tires, or really, you have a very hands-off approach on doing your rentals, and I've been doing contactless rentals, something that you can very easily miss. And in this case, where the tire sizes are, or where the tire brands are different, and I can clearly see that one is bigger than the other, that's just not good for the health of your vehicle. So you want to avoid that. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to share with you guys what happened. Again, there was no red flags with this renter in terms of, pickup and drop off. He was on time, kept the communication. He had to modify his trip a few times. There was no issues there. And, especially thinking that he's a host on the platform, just not cool. So not cool to do that to someone else's car. So that's what happened. I want to share this with you guys. Lots of documentation. I'm going to get it submitted over to Turo, and then I'll keep you guys posted on what happens. But just crazy that another host would thrash someone else's car on the platform. And I don't know. Yeah, we really don't have, any other words for that. Just real bizarre, real bizarre. All right, guys. So just want to share that story with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be in touch with what happens. Take care.